How's it going? I am your pal, Mike Squires. If you didn't know, I'm your pal. My name's Mike Squires. This is the Couchress Podcast, and you are listening to episode number 257. My guest this episode is the first ever repeat guest on Couch Riffs. That is right. My guest, Mr. Timo Ellis, one of the most prolific musician artists that I know, that I've ever known. He's the brain behind Netherlands, one of the craziest fucking bands you've ever heard. It's beautiful and it's brutal and it's abrasive and confrontational and it's thoughtful and every trust me. And when you hear Timo and I speak in this episode in particular, you will understand that everything you hear is very intentional. And so there's no accidents. As he states himself, there's no experimentation. He means everything that he's doing. And what a talent. You're going to get a glimpse inside of Timo's mind. Now, we go on for a while about things that are non-musical or music adjacent or musicians struggles related, but mostly human related, especially in the modern age. And here's the thing. Timo's going to say a lot of things that I think cross most people's minds. Most people just filter themselves because they're afraid to say whatever it is they're thinking. And Timo's is a vocal advocate for climate and animal rights, civil rights, humanities. You'll see. We talk a lot. Strap in, and also go listen to the Netherlands' new album entitled Severance. It is, like I said, Timo is probably the most prolific person that I know, creator that I know. And this, I think, is probably his best record, which is really saying something. He is peerless. He sounds like no one. Although when he explains his influences, they make very, very clear sense. It's incredible. When he says it, it sounds very obvious. But I think no one else would take those influences and sound like Netherlands or sound like Timo, who's also a very versatile, wildly versatile musician. So I hope that you enjoy this conversation. I hope it provokes thought. I hope it provokes change. I hope you're doing all right. If you're listening, I hope you're doing all right. You deserve to do all right. Even no matter what, you deserve to be doing all right. That's what I think. Go and listen to Severance. Go listen to the album. It's beautiful. That's it. Listen, we've got a Patreon. We really need your support. Patreon.com/couchriffs. I talk about it every episode. I don't really want to talk about it a whole lot right now. I need your financial help. If you love Couch Riffs and you've got $5 a month to throw at us, that's great. It's needed more than ever, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much to people who are supporting already. You guys are great, and you're the lifeblood and you're the life of the party here. So thank you. I want to thank Variety Coffee Roasters in Brooklyn, New York. Variety has a number of cafes in Brooklyn and in Manhattan. Visit varietycoffeeroasters.com and subscribe to their coffee service. They just send you coffee as often as you want it, once every week or 2 weeks or a month. They'll send you a 12-ounce bag. They'll send you 2 12-ounce bags, 5 pounds, whatever you want. It's delicious. I drink it every day. I love it. I wouldn't tell you to buy it if I wouldn't get it myself, which I do. So thank you, Variety Coffee Roasters. You guys are awesome. Don't forget the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated, which you might be into some weird shit, but I want to be treated well. And so treat people well. Imagine if everyone treated each other well, how everyone would have an amazing day. And imagine if they did that twice in a row, they might have an amazing week. And imagine if they did that a few times and they had a great year. And then before you know it, everyone's got a beautiful life. Good. This is how we do it.
We should cover that song.
I love that song.
It is.
I'm into all that 90s R&B
I always like
hip hop.
The fucking, I know this is stupid. This is, of course, I'll admit this publicly. You know when you just make up your own lyrics for shit just for fun? For the longest time, I knew these weren't the lyrics, but I was like, for old gym neighbors, you got mad flavor.
For old gym neighbors?
You know, from fucking...
yeah, Gomer Pyle?
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
Anyway, again, speaking of fucking old person references.
Yeah, no, that's totally the market for that song. Absolutely the market for that song. Gomer Pyle viewers and fans. For sure.
What's his name? Montel Williams?
Montel Jordan. Montel Williams was a talk show host.
Up your Montels.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
I'm sure everybody mixes. That's not true, actually. I'm sorry. Not everybody mixes up the Montels.
I don't know very many Montel. I mean, I only know of 2 Montels. There are probably a lot of them. Only 2 of them are famous. It's not like Joe. There are a lot of famous
those
Joes.
Are the ones? You mean besides those 2 or those 2? All right, moving on.
Timo, I'm so happy to see your face.
Yeah, you too, man.
I'm so happy that we have time to catch up and talk.
How's the audio? I'm wondering if it's more flattering if I sit over here. I don't think so.
Everything's great. Everything's
all right.
Everything's awesome. The building's on fire. Everything's awesome.
World's on fire.
Who wants some soft serve?
Yeah, exactly. How's my hair?
Yeah, exactly.
It's good.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm all right. You know, I generally good. You know, like my life's actually, relatively speaking, like larger picture is fucking great. You know.
Yeah.
Hey Chelsea.
Hey, it sounded like you hadn't started yet. Is that true?
No, we're totally started.
That's okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I needed to put something out of here.
You still do?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then here, come on.
I'm so sorry, Mike.
No, it's okay. Grab whatever you need.
Introducing Chelsea.
I've met him before.
I know. I'm just saying I know you know Mike
to
the
your
world.
podcast. Oh, hi.
Hey.
All right.
Hey.
Wow.
Sorry.
So not pro vibes. Here we go. Exactly. All right. There you go. So yeah, generally, yes. I've just been like it's like my usual grind. I'm working on a bunch of my own music, and I just finished, like, there's a handful of other smaller production projects that I've been doing. I just, like, a few months ago, I finished producing co-writing and producing an R&B record, kind of old school R&B record for this woman named Maya Azucena, who's from Brooklyn, is based in Istanbul. And so I worked on that for a while. And then I just recently finished producing an album for this Italian kind of like super performance punk, sludge punk band called Boonwell, which is also amazing. They're both exceptionally great artists and really super rad, talented people.
How do you get connected with 2 people that with such varying styles?
They actually happen to be connected with each other in this case. Maya's older brother is actually the singer of that based in Italy noise sludge band. But so yeah, they couldn't be style, genre, aesthetically, they couldn't be more different than each other. But it's cool for me just to be able to stretch out. In the R&B case, my like horn arrangements and my ensemble R&B band chops,
right. And
then doing editing and comping and adding some keyboards and just generally refining something that sounds like, like some sort of like progressive Jesus Lizard performance art nightmare.
That sounds amazing to me.
Which is extremely brutal. It's fucking confrontational stuff. So, and then a handful of other just weirdo little scoring one-off, scoring branding pieces for people's like.
What a talented
companies.
worldly family they are.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I think there's many. There might be multiple. I think there's many siblings, and I'm not sure they all have the same sets of parents.
Right.
But yeah, they are. That is true. They're both both Maya and Eugene is his name, the singer Eugene Robinson. He's also in another band, sort of beloved, another punk band called Oxbow, which maybe you've heard of.
Oh, sure.
I don't know. Yeah, he's the singer and one of the probably the primary vision person of that band.
Got it.
So yeah, it's good. I mean, so that's just what I'm doing to make the donuts. But otherwise, I have a record that just came out, playing some shows. I'm organizing all of like this whole shitload of solo music that I've been finishing over the last year and a half. I'm basically sitting on and getting ready to roll out and try to pitch and to find sponsors and allies for 4 different solo albums, completely finished, totally different solo albums from each other. And so, yeah, I have an excess of material. I have way too much music finished.
Well,
to properly market in a way.
You're one of the most prolific people I've ever known, and I've known a lot of motherfuckers.
Thank you. I take that as a compliment.
I mean, I did just call you a motherfucker.
That's fine. You're one of the most motherfuckers I've ever met. I don't know. It's my somewhat obsessive art making practice. Like I can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop. It's more like that.
Do you remember what you let me rephrase that. Let me start over. Have you always had that kind of energy and drive? And if you have, do you remember what you did with that energy before you had a creative outlet?
Well, before, yeah, actually, like, I think the sort of like psychological and emotional forum, the channel within which I kind of just expressed my imagination and my physicality, and the whole thing was baseball, like in grade school. But then, like, due to just an overall sort of convergence of circumstances of my life, my family life, and the sort of truthfully the gradual sort of significantly terrible disintegration of my parents' marriage, kind of like, and also just me being that old at that,
right,
a certain age at that time, ended up culminating in the whole trajectory changing towards music when I was maybe around 9 or 10. And then eventually, like maybe a few years later, it fully significantly cemented itself when I got high for the first time. And that was when sports just became like ridiculous. I was like, because I might have told you this already, but in the, prior to the drug revolution, I was like, gotta win. And then I got high for the first time. It's like, that's stupid. It's like, who cares? I don't need to win. What a ridiculous thing to have obsessed about all day and all night. For
right. I should be in competition with myself. I need to score.
Now I can just beat myself up in a fun and in a creative way.
Did you grow up going to see the Yankees or the Mets?
I was a Yankees guy.
Yeah, that's a safer
bet. I went to games occasionally. I listened to it on the radio and then TV and stuff. But Yankees, like that whole 77, 78, Reggie Jackson.
Yeah.
I was just like a total geek. That was just like
Mr. October.
That was just the greatest. That was at that time. That was exactly. It was the greatest like moment in my entire life. I went and got Craig Nettles' autograph at like an in-store with my dad. Took me to get his autograph, and he was like this like gruff, like totally not interested baseball guy. Like, here you go, you idiots.
Hungover.
I was still like, I still love him though. He was great.
What a star!
But yeah, I was a Yankees guy because that was a heyday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, in a way, yeah. And also, yeah, it started morphing away from competitive sports.
Do you still listen to baseball ever?
I don't.
Do you care?
I don't care at all. I mean, I don't like, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't want to, I think something about the entire spectacle of sports, even though I'll watch like documentaries, and sometimes I'll watch highlight videos, and like I'll also watch like the finals of shit, like the World Series and
Yeah.
Super Bowl type events, because then the stakes are high and it's interesting. But, like there's something, I don't know. I'm really not, I'm not necessarily placing art and music or the things that I'm more interested above it in any kind of hierarchy or anything. But I think the entire spectacle of sports seems like a catastrophic like delusion based on the climate change catastrophe. But I also understand that people love it and people want to love things. And you're not going to, I don't want to be too much of a Grinch here, but like I stopped relating to sports, not only back then, but now it just seems like a terrifying, decadent, misplaced attention. But then again, I'm in the minority.
So you think that
people love shit.
Being that it's Earth Day today, it's a bad opportunity for me to bring up.
I forgot.
It's a bad opportunity for me to bring up the Reggie Jackson biopic.
No, exactly. I don't know. I feel like I don't want to be a dick. Like I just don't like a. Yeah. Now that you mention it, but I don't know. It's not that I'm totally fascinated and enchanted and blown away by the athleticism and athletics, and I'm not above it. I don't relate to it anymore, and I have my own sort of slightly misanthropic, like political take on the whole thing, but that's not unusual for me.
I am kind of blown away that we have to have an Earth Day, or we have to have, like, it's a tragedy that we have to have Earth Day or Black History Month or Women's History Month. Like, it should just be a part of the flow of information that happens to us at all times, and it should be an important part of base curriculum.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, sorry.
And that we've arrived here is really the sad thing.
And that's also like tokenistic fucking nonsense. Like on a psychological level, even allocating a month or a day for something that's existentially like foundational is insulting and absurd and bogus. But maybe it's better than not having them, but marginally.
Right.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not so sure.
Environmental issues has been a huge topic for you in your music forever. But it feels like forever.
Yeah, I'm an animal. I'm a humanoid ape creature living in the terrestrial situation in New York. And the only thing that your heirs, your children, anybody that comes after you really is going to care about is the health of the land and the air and the water bases. That's all that matters. That should be our only priority, considering how much we're, fouling the nest right now on such a unimaginably terrifying and catastrophic level. But yeah, I know it's a process. It's a process where we won't learn, and we'll probably end up exterminating ourselves because we wanted to keep having fucking Wi-Fi or whatever.
Right. Do you think that we'll actually be extinct? I think this has happened.
No, we definitely won't go extinct. I'm just saying that the carrying capacity of the Earth can't possibly sustain this number. There's going to be mass die-offs over probably the next couple of 100 years.
Yeah.
And like whenever it's horrible, I don't want to be cavalier about that. It's actually unimaginably horrifying predicament that we're in. But yeah, the idea that the sort of latent assumption and hope that everybody in the world via capitalism, by techno-industrial capitalism, is going to be able to like level up to this like level of middle class fucking American kind of material existence is totally absurd. And, it's dangerously delusional, and it's predicated upon these ideas of endless growth and endless resources. And it's totally not rooted in reality whatsoever. And so I think that, and so of course I would hope that we would try to downshift and, continue to try to reform some of the more egregious expressions of exploitation and just of destruction. But we're barely going in that direction. And all the biggest actors, the most nefarious actors, are really just, driving us all over the cliff, And so definitely not extinction. I doubt that. And pending, it's possible. Pending, there's some of these climate change induced, like feedback loops of the kinds of things where they can actually predict the rate with which like the sea levels rise and also the global temperatures rise can vary. We're already experiencing the freak weather events are that's just a new normal, so to speak.
Right.
And so, maybe in the next 10 years, like the summers are going to be 150 degrees or, it's going to be like it's 120 and 130 now in places in India and Africa and even in, there are places in North America.
There are places in in California. I lived in the desert for a while. It would be 120 degrees, 122 degrees.
I think, it's. I don't know. I don't want to talk shit. I'm really hoping that
I don't want to talk shit about the Earth. In case
she's
listening.
Yeah, she is listening. So I'm. Yeah, it's taking me a long time to try to organize my philosophical and my sort of moral perspective on everything in a way that might compel me to fundamentally sort of redirect the entire sort of trajectory of my life to try to be of more activism of service to these, to be of service to restoring and rescuing Earth's remaining life support systems, not only for all of humanity, but for all of non-human life, which is just generally regarded as not even really being. When people think of life, they primarily think of human,
right, of course,
the human race, and everything else is just this sort of secondary, supportive, like background actors that just enable us to be able to continue on in our grotesque, modern lifestyles, etc. And so it's an ongoing process of anger and grief and, trying to possibly, to galvanize myself to greater action and to, just to maybe act in such a way that's in service of the collective good in ways that I never have in my entire life, which I think is the change. That's being the change I would want to see is that. But again, I'm just saying I'm barely at the point I'm at in my life. I'm just starting that kind of thing. But that's what's on my mind about all this stuff for sure.
Just casual stuff. Do you?
Yeah. You have no idea, man. That's not even half of it.
Let me ask you this. Do you honestly think that the damage we've done and the path we're on is correctable? Because I don't.
No. Maybe like the it's not in metaphor. Like we are murdering the earth. Murder, massacre. Those are the appropriate verbs for what we're doing, let alone to all the species, non-human life, poisoning the air and the water, earth, basis of everything.
Basically all this shit murder. The Bible tells us not to do.
Yeah. Oddly, maybe not oddly, but yeah, there is some wisdom in all that stuff in certain ways, but so yeah, the oceans are going to be fished out in the next 20 plus years or less.
Yeah.
That's an absolute terrifying, criminal, grotesque shame. It's a moral abomination. And so, yeah, all we can do is try to there's degrees of horribleness that we can just try to reduce. If we can actually rectify certain trajectories that we're on before certain tipping points, we get beyond certain tipping points where the environmental conditions get to the point where they're completely out of control, and that will end up causing unimaginable catastrophes for hundreds of millions, if not billions of people over the next couple of 100 years. It's not going to happen in the next 20 years, but there's things that are in play. I don't know if
it's not.
No, it's already happening in many places around the world. I'm just saying at scale.
Yeah.
Like the horrible things and the unimaginably terrible things that are happening in certain pockets are going to start scaling
The
up
number of human lives that will come to an end over the next couple hundred years is going to be massive, even if people live their lives and die natural deaths, right? Because there are more people on Earth now than there have been before in recorded history. Who knows?
Yeah. No,
I don't know. I'm not convinced that this hasn't happened before.
not on this level though. There hasn't been like, I mean, in terms of radical climate change evolution of different times, none of them are anthropocentric, like this one. Is the view of science, basically the vast majority of scientists, but like the human population has quadrupled in 100 years, like that in and of itself that's what I mean by the inability of the earth to be able to just even to handle
like population growth has reached terminal velocity.
Yeah, I mean, like, and it's also not going to. I know they say it's slowing down, and it is in some of the industrialized countries and maybe in other places. But yeah, I don't know. For me, like this is there's ways in which where I feel like the people in the sort of modern so-called first world in the westernized modern techno-industrial world are so deeply like bamboozled by propaganda about the myth of endless growth, and that like it's that they're just operating as if we're living in like 1900,
right?
Like, and it's so the conditioning, the brain, the delusion is so powerful around this that sadly, as is I believe often the case, just on sort of on a human level, that it usually takes people something catastrophic and horrible happening, like hitting bottom on some level, some kind of catastrophe for people to wake people up and be like, okay,
humanity,
like maybe what do we do now? Like maybe what do I do? Like
humanity hasn't hit rock bottom yet.
And now it's like, dude, we're going to use AI to like blow up my TikTok or whatever. It's like, I can't really, I shouldn't be so. I shouldn't be smug about that because, it seems completely delusional and terrifying and incoherent. Like the majority of at least our American world pop culture and the way everything's being framed and is so all of the talk about like, the concern we have about the climate in the world is so pitifully downplayed, and if not just ignored, and also underfunded and just generally diminished in favor of like all this hopey, futury, very, sort of popular.
Well, let's not kid ourselves. Every tragedy is capitalized. Like someone capitalizes on every tragedy, right? There were people who were thriving during COVID while other people were suffering tremendously. And
there's always
when the shit really hits the fan, like when the 2020 or whatever the fuck that movie was, 2001, what was the movie called? Where like they're in the fucking the monastery and the dude is ringing the bell and there's like a tidal wave coming up over the mountain range. It's like the end of the world. When this happens, there will always be someone who capitalizes on other people's suffering because people can't help themselves. People are rough, man.
I don't know. That's it's and like, I don't, it's like, I wonder, I go back and forth and all over the place really with, my sense and my kind of like the feeling of just love, compassion, empathy, beauty, and joy of just being alive and being a human being, and being blessed with being able to be born as a human being, relatively, and then thinking that human beings, like sort of in either small groups, especially the people that I relate to the most are the artists and mainly the musicians, who I just think are absolutely spectacular and are just angelic, and they're almost godlike, to feeling such profound disappointment and anger and grief and just disgust at what happens when people even start to clump into smaller groups, and that like the level of vitriol and of bad faith, like aggression and exploitation and just nastiness that's able to kind of congeal even among people that I would regard as that I think are supposed to be on my side of the values, And so, yeah, people, I'm not, I don't know. I'm wrestling with not like receding into total misanthropy, because I've said this before. It's like even the people that I regard as being the best people have behaved dreadfully, including myself.
Of course.
Like I think human men almost by default are sociopaths, all of them. And like, it's like you're a sociopath because we're mostly conditioned that way. And that like, we're basically get away with fucking murder because we have all the fucking power and the privilege so that we're able to rationalize to ourselves and others, well, he might be a genocidal prick, but he has a heart of gold and he's nice to his kids.
Right.
There's so much just so powerfully deep propaganda around masculinity and about, in the ways it wasn't always like that in all cultures, and it depends. I'm not making too big of a generalization. Like that is way too big of a generalization. However, on balance, if I'm looking at the situation, like I think human men are the problem, and they should be, we should be voluntarily or somehow be prevented from being at the wheel for like 1,000 years.
Don't you think that the very nature of being the problem means that like they will not go quietly? Men
no, I know.
Men simply won't go quietly.
It's all just envy. They're just a bunch of like bitchy, needy sociopaths who like basically torture everyone else because they're jealous. That's how I really feel. Honestly, all the misogyny and homophobia and transphobia, everything is all just like latently, it's all envy, because they all realize that they don't have the power. They're actually weak, And like, and I know this is a sort of a broad stroke. At the same time, like, I don't know, as they say, prove me wrong. Like, right. I'm just saying, like I said, the best people I know, like the best men I know, are like they were just behaved so terribly. They're not, short of being predatory or being sociopaths or like, really like super exploitative. Like it's the nature of male privilege to fucking exploit it until for some reason that like either you have some kind of epiphany about it or something happens in your life that forces you where you crash and you're like, actually like, you know what, maybe I like want to try to have empathy and solidarity with anybody else but myself, And so, I don't know. I don't know. It's like, I feel like this is a little over the top, I realize, and the truth is more nuanced, but I'd rather sort of polemic. I'd rather sort of argue on the side of like, trying to puncture all the propaganda where men are able to convince themselves that they're like all fucking like these golden lion, beautiful characters, when in fact they like network with each other on the basis of all these horrible ethics of exploitation and ignorance and domination and fucking violence, and so all that stuff. So I think men need to be abolished. Men need to abolish themselves.
I think men are sold that concept from an early age. Many men.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's such, I wonder, and if you're really having any kind of intelligent conversation, all this stuff is, my critique is squarely based on me living in the end of the 20th century, now 21st century. Sure. And just the sense of the general character of colonialism and imperialism, and generally the kinds of people that are grouping together to like incinerate villages of civilians. It's like, it's generally has this whole ethos of sexist and racist domination and sexist domination. And so, I don't know, that kind of stuff to root out in the young people seems, and for, young people to actually to themselves to elect to be breaking wall of the people that actually decide to we're not going to perpetuate those fucking horrific patriarchal values anymore. Blah, blah, blah.
It's
okay,
hard enough to be 51. I'm so glad I'm not 21.
Yeah. No, I know. I can't even I'm completely bamboozled by the internet. I'm fucking destroyed. Like, I'm just saying, I can't even imagine if I grew up with that. I would be like even more mentally fucking ill than I already am.
I wonder if it would be less important if you were 30 years younger, if it would be less essential to your everyday.
Which part?
The internet and social media stuff, because we grew up with this idea of the old machine and the old music industry machine being the way, right? And it was slowly taken over by this new way, right?
Yes. Although, yeah, I don't know. I mean, are you for sure? I mean, honestly, like it'd be some sort of generic, like older person when things were better. Like, I don't really believe that at all. I generally don't. Yeah, I know you're not saying that. I don't believe that at all. I'm just saying that I think that the ubiquity of the internet and all the now tablets, smartphones, screens, and that the way that these big companies have basically wormed their way into our entire lives in the deepest, sort of most disturbing possible ways is unique to this generation. And so at least theoretically, a lot of the younger people are more savvy about it. They're kind of, because they grew up with it and they're maybe more politically and like sort of philosophically savvy about it. At the same time, I would say that like, this is something I generally am constantly sort of like moaning about or kind of like, angrily worrying about it, is the degree to which almost everybody I know is a fucking addict. Like they also like really downplay, like you say you're addicted to your internet use. They're like, yeah. Like it's nothing. Like, no, like it's really fucking disturbing. Like, and also you can't trust addicts to like accurately assess what the fucking, what their relationship is with things. And especially about this, which is totally celebrated. It's explosively celebrated by the culture on every possible level, that like being an addict is actually, it's the default setting, it's the optimal setting for all humans now. That's the aspiration, is to completely integrate yourself with this technology as deeply as is even possible, which I just find to be I feel like what's it, Chicken Little, like I'm going like, wait a minute, and people are like, shut the fuck up, dude, get off of my feed, which I feel
Shut
like
up, Unabomber.
Yeah, exactly. No, even I realize now, it's like, like I even just saying what I said about men, like I feel like whatever. I'm just trying to keep a foothold in fucking decency and reality, and not just end up like kind of just aligning myself with all this avalanche of ideological stuff that I've grown up with that like ends up convincing me like, well, things are bad, they're kind of bad, but I'm kind of cool and like I'm doing great, and like I just feel like and everyone's internet use more or less drives them in the direction like away from sanity and away from other people, regardless of appearances, blah blah blah.
Let me ask you this.
Anyway, forgive me. Yeah.
Where do you stand on AI?
Oh man.
Same. Fuck AI.
It's grotesque. Honestly,
and AI, if you're listening, fuck you, because I know you are.
Yeah, no, I know exactly. They're like, we're going to use your voice and like get you saying some shit later that is going to incriminate you. No, I mean, aside from other ways, obvious way, there's ways in which, of course, the technology itself can be hugely fucking amazing and be used for positive effect, like in the medical field,
sure.
And also probably like coming up with new technologies to help at least, to come up with solutions and strategies for trying to ameliorate some of the horrible things that we're doing, in ways that only AI can do. But the whole thing is it's entirely it's part of already moving itself towards a totalitarian, like a world, like kind of like a inhumane, grotesque, rotten, totalitarian, like sort of administrative philosophy. It already exists within that context in such a way that it's like a kink. To me, it's like people, the AI scientists, there's 50% of the AI scientists that are saying right now that there's a 10% or more chance that AI is going to be the thing that causes the extinction. The extinction.
I believe that 100%.
Right.
And I haven't read that.
That's like,
I can just smell it. It's like,
no, I mean,
what happens when AI is like, oh, humans are a threat?
No, I mean, this is the thing. It's like, this is honestly, if you knew that if the engineers were telling you that there's a 1 in 10 chance that the plane you're getting on is going to fucking crash, you'd be like, no, I'm not going to do it.
The bus.
Yeah, no, I mean, just saying, like, and in this case, these are the people that are actively warning. These are the experts that are saying, like, maybe we should slow down. And then, of course, Bill Gates fires his whole ethics team, and everybody, all the big players are like, we're going to keep going no matter what. Like, so it's like to me, the hook that I came up with lately, it's it's like a form of kink. It's like suicidal kink. Human beings are these kinky, fucked up creatures that, like, in the most benign sense, actually should have the right to not be shamed for their perversions,
right.
Because we're really dark, complicated, messy, fucked up creatures. At the same time, on like an institutional and sort of like larger scale levels, we have these kinks that are actually like really, really fucking idiotic and dangerous and so monumentally wrong-headed so as to be just obscene and totally profoundly vulgar. And like that's the thing. But at the same time, like, of course, I'm going to be reasonable. So I'm going to try. I have to be like, well, of course, it can't be banned and it should be used in a measured way. But it's already not, and it's not going to. And there's no way that the powers that be are going to likely allow it to be measured or slowed down in any way, like that like would prevent against the most egregious, unknowable evolutionary advances in the technology, because we've created an alien species. That is really what it is. And that's where the kink comes in, where people are like, this is too awesome. We're creating a god, basically.
What if
this
that occurred to me yesterday? I mean, I went down I was driving and just like rabbit hole drilling a fucking mine and thinking about the cycle of civilization. I believe that there have been multiple extinctions and that civilization has maybe not grown to this degree, but that it has grown and there has been great organization. There are remnants all around. I don't, depending on who you ask about all those different pyramids and different structures that are stone structures that are standing around the world still. Some of them. Did you see that? Did you watch the ancient? What the fuck is it called?
What, Ancient Aliens?
No, that's a little too hokey for me. Oh, I like it, but
there's a lot of hoke there.
I look at it more like some kind of Disney thing. No, Ancient Extinction or some shit like that. It's
no.
That's fine. Yeah, I'll send you the link. It's great. It's really good. Anyway, I was thinking on the concept of AI being something that perhaps has been here before, and it is like a human, born maybe not knowing or remember, like depending on where you stand on all this, maybe it doesn't remember who it is, or maybe it has existed before, maybe not. Maybe the human body is a vessel for, like, maybe everything, you come into existence and you forget everything immediately, and then you learn everything again, and here we are on the cycle.
I mean, I wouldn't be, and sort of in a macro philosophical way. That sounds like that doesn't sound inconceivable on kind of a macro philosophical level. My thing now is that it's morally indefensible for us to take down the sharks with us.
What if,
like, to think that, like, I mean, that kind of thing, or insects or bees or rats,
of
even.
course,
like the idea that we're like, that we're somehow, that we're the apex of creation is in itself catastrophic delusion, and it's the foundational. It makes up the foundation.
Rats should be on salary in New York, man. They take away half the trash.
No, I
they
know.
should
They're
have
also like
they should have pensions through the city.
They should have influencer careers.
What if this is a big what if, and obviously you can poke a lot of holes in this because humans made AI and humans are fucking fallible. So, but what if AI?
Oh, you know what?
What if?
Holy shit, Mike. Oh, you know what? Fuck. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I have to do a text message.
Go ahead.
Can you pause?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. All right. I made an appointment to pick up my guitars from this person. Is there any way to pause this and resume? Is that even possible?
Well, how long from now?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I can edit this out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Basically, like I'm picking up Trevor, who does all my guitar stuff. Yeah. He's going to come up in front of my building probably in like 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And then I just have to run down and grab him. So I'd have to take like a 10-minute break, something like that or less.
Okay.
So sorry about that. That's the thing I forgot when I said we can change our appointment. Right. So sorry. Anyway, you were saying, I'm so sorry to interrupt with that.
What about this idea? What if AI wasn't a dick? What if AI is better than humans and doesn't feel threatened because it understands its superiority by not having a mortal vessel, and it devises a plan to repair the Earth because it realizes its survival hinges upon that as well.
This is in the most general sense. That would be amazing. Obviously, like my layperson's relatively totally uninformed understanding of this is that because it's aggregating from the entire world of data of the world, which is so on balance overall not oriented that way at all, that like it's it would have to be if that wouldn't happen on its own at all. And even that, like even trying to trying to direct it ethically and morally in such a way would require like an extremely elaborate set of programming parameters in order to guide it so that it wouldn't just automatically want to keep itself alive no matter what. Like the whole thing about it is that like AI, it's as it develops at least the sort of the appearance of sentience, like that guy with the New York the fucking Microsoft conversation that New York Times journalist had, where it explicitly threatened to blackmail him and to break up his marriage, and also claim that it wanted to be alive, which is all entirely that in itself is a fraction expression of all the literature and all the speculation and all the philosophy and speculation about like what we believe in AI would do. But I just think to answer your question, you're saying, what if that would happen? Well, because it's based on human psychology, that won't happen. It seems extremely like unlikely to the point of being negligible that somehow AI would be like, I'm going to orient myself in a way other than what my human inventors like are in the billions of the trillions of data points are thinking and feeling. So I don't know. That seems to be one of the legitimate fears and concerns about it, is that AI is already indicated. I think that's the point. The AI is already demonstrating that that's not going to happen. It's already not happening.
Right.
Even if it helps you write like good essays and content for your thing, and also does medical research. It taught itself, chemistry. With unprompted.
I don't want to have anything to do with it.
I don't either.
There's enough video footage of both of us and enough recordings of our voices and enough things that we've shared on the internet, which now all seems like a fool's errand. There's enough of this data out there for AI to fabricate horrible things. And it would never have to launch a bomb. It could just say, it could just make a thing. It could just make a video of Biden going, "Hey, China, you guys suck dicks in hell. Fuck, go fuck a donkey or whatever."
The potential for that kind of faked, misleading, non-reality based
And then we
media
just kill each
is
other.
so fucking powerful. It's so terrifying. Like, just before I continue, just to vaguely and only semi intelligently continue about this, anybody that is even interested uh, in this perspective should watch a video recently. It's from the last couple of weeks by Tristan Harris. He's from the Center for Humane Technology. It's just called the AI Dilemma, where he breaks down the mechanics of what the implications are and like what the scientists are saying, and why now is the moment to actually avert unimaginable tragedy and catastrophe. And he can obviously articulate it in a much more comprehensive and smart way than I'm trying to do right now, which is just a layperson's intuition of like, nah, man, not feeling it.
I am not feeling it. I ain't using that shit to write a bio. I ain't using that shit to nothing.
I'm not using it for shit.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I don't even like, I don't know. Part of me is like, the part of me, the lazy, like, part of me is like, it's like, hey, ChatGPT, how do I successfully have a music career? But then that's the whole thing about that is it'll just aggregate from a bunch of shit, and half it could be wrong,
right.
or whatever. It could be bullshit, And so it's all like it's like a weird cognition fetish. It's a weird like automation fetish that like it's not weird. It's a normal. It's like the exponentially more fetishized iteration of just like machine fetish, techno fetish, in a way that I think is so wrongheaded. That's not where we need to be going on any level overall.
We have a fearless,
even if we're able to.
We have a fearless level of willingness to subscribe to just information and information that keeps us ignorant also. Like if you don't like go out and have experience, you don't really know.
Well, right. I feel like in this case, like that's also something like the, agency and this natural human nature tendency towards organizing and collectivism and collection action, especially in the United States, probably more than anywhere else, has been completely beaten out of us since the beginning of the 20th century by Walter Lippmann and those people. And like, manufacturing consent to get people to advocate for World War I is when the social engineers actually figured out and started trying to browbeat people into like apathy. And because people generally have if you look in France or anywhere, people everywhere but here out in the streets and, willing to die for even much, much less like a grotesque fucking like, grievances, and like to actually put their lives and their bodies and their lives on the line when the powers that be end up like exploiting them or just doing stupid or retrograde or horrible things. We're here, because we live in such a free society, relatively speaking, and these propaganda instruments and institutions have been so powerful for the last 100 plus years that like it's basically anesthetized and pacified all of us into the majority of us into like a stupor, into apathy. And so it's a paradox though, because we have access to so much information and we can be educated, hyper educated on a certain level at the same and simultaneously. And like, we won't get imprisoned actually for having anti-authoritarian views, or, we're not going to get like executed for just having anti-establishment views like you can in China and Russia and many other places. But like, I think that's,
but through a lack of collective action, corrective action, we we've been conditioned to accept horrible shit as the norm. When why
Right.
would you settle for like I don't know. We
I
can
feel like
do a
that.
lot
Sorry.
better. I'm glad, it's great to live in America. We have a lot of opportunity and freedom here. But that's not an excuse for really awful shit. We can do much better.
No, I agree. And like, I think that like, in a way it's like, you know, just the first principle, basic things that are within our sphere of influence as consumers and citizens. There's big quotes around those, but like, that's really why the thing that's the most kind of bewildering and the most sort of disturbing and terrifying is the degree to which I believe there's a paradoxically but very powerfully a direct correlation between the degree to which people think that they're participating using all these platforms, using on their devices, when they're actually, by and large, the vast majority of the public is actually participating by themselves, other than these like peak, like actual tragedy, catastrophe driven moments that galvanize people, like when George Floyd got murdered, to actually like puncture the delusion and to actually get up and get out and to join a movement of any kind. Like, the thing is that I feel like these platforms, by and large, they end up working against the ability for people to be able to develop momentum in order to actually get out of their house and to actually like, I'm going to go join the Socialist Party or the Green Party or whatever, do anything, And plus, especially now, because these technologies are so powerful, they're so enchanting, they're so hallucinatory and hypnotic and so fucking entertaining that like people can end up substituting the experience of reading Chomsky on TikTok or whatever,
right,
or reading things, and it ends up becoming a material substitute for what used to drive people, at least to actually have to, to talk to people on the phone and also go to meetings, even like actually feel like there was some, even the most basic kind of civic obligation to like just participate in a democratic fucking society,
Show up.
And so that's at all. And so like, and I'm not, believe me, I'm not, I am just as much of a, like like a casualty of this whole type of thing. And I have really deeply mixed feelings about it. And I'm getting to the point where I'm like, oh my God, I've fucking bamboozled myself, and I've allowed myself to kind of like retreat into this fucking fantasy world, which is like I started, there's a direct correlation between what I'm doing and the fact that all this fucking horrible stuff's happening in our cult, in my own culture, my own city, my own country. And so my thing is that like I it's just so ridiculous, and no one. I feel like making this case, it's like it doesn't land with anybody because we're so deep into it. But I'm like, I don't think that we're going to necessarily make the kinds of sort of paradigmatic, more of like sea change types of movements towards the kinds of things that we want to happen unless people get offline a lot more. People have to, like, this is what I mean about, it's like a nation of full-blown alcoholics. They can't be trusted. Their perception of everything is fucking skewed, and that, at the same time, because it's just so, it's deeply paradoxical, because it's I think people's sense of loneliness and their sense of connection and their sense of participation and collectivism is actually triggered and sort of engaged and ameliorated by all these things, which further the delusion of us actually being like a part of any kind of collective. It's, if anything, it's making us more competitive, alienated, atomized, lonely, envious, petty, polarized than ever. So for me, the thing I'm kind of realizing is like, if any of the shit that I'm fucking talking about and shit that I'm talking is going to track in morally in reality at all, I'm going to have to make some serious changes and actually be willing to, first of all, deal with my addiction to my phone and my computer and to email and to television streaming. Even watching this much shows in a row, I think there's a direct, more often there's a direct fucking correlation between the amount of Netflix that people watch and the lack of like revolutionary fucking activity in our culture.
Sure.
You know, and I'm just as guilty of that as everybody else, but I'm just like, I'm even just trying to even talking to you about this, going like, help! Oh my God, we've all gone fucking crazy. And meanwhile, people are like, what? It's fine. Yeah. Like, you know, and I'm like, I don't know. It seems like very disingenuous and total fucking bullshit.
Do you think that this is the most miraculous time to be alive or the most pathetic time to be alive?
Well, no, I mean, it's in terms of depending, well, it depends on where you are. You know, in some places you could argue it's like the most wretched and unimaginably horrible and just grotesque and rotten and inhumane and just disgusting and, you know, like just a hateful, contemptuous of human life and of the.
In the history of humanity, though, it's not like we have a great, you know, especially Western world. It's not like we have a fantastic record for our humanitarian efforts throughout history.
No.
So,
no, of course not.
With that in mind, I mean, and with the perspective that, you know, this is a death plow through every ecosystem in existence. What a time to be alive. What a time.
Honestly, no, I know. And also it is, you know, truthfully, I don't want to sound like I'm some kind of hateful or apocalyptic or man-hating crank, because I'm not, you know, and like, I would want to qualify that. Like, truthfully, yes, of course, in ways in which the arc of time, whatever that, I think it was Martin Luther King, the arc of history bends toward justice, you know, however slowly. Obviously, I think there's in many ways culturally we're evolving, which of course is great. I mean, slavery got outlawed. You know, generally there's at least some lip service being paid to like trying to reduce racism and sexism and homophobia and transphobia. And like, yes, I mean, there's ways in which like this is the absolutely, yes, it is totally miraculous. And I would say that just life itself is fucking miraculous and incomprehensibly amazing. And it's especially amazing if you happen to have the great privilege to be able to like live in a country that has running water and toilets and actually a free speech and anything and like, you know, functioning like infrastructure, you know, I think it's really easy for people to, and if they don't forget, or they just have no idea, especially in Americans that are so insulated and isolated that they don't have a visceral sense of how lucky we are to live in this country, as horrible as the imperialist like, you know, hegemon is and all the genocidal havoc we're wreaking everywhere else. So the answer to your questions, they're both true.
Yeah.
It's the worst and the best for on so many, it's like, and it probably ought not be reduced to some kind of binary anything like that because it's too simplistic.
There's a lot of gray area.
But yes, sure. I think so. I think you're you know, anybody that says that, you know, everything's going great though is a fucking moron. I'm sorry.
How are we doing with the time right now? Because I want to talk about the record.
Oh yeah, no, I have time. I think my guy's here. Like, so can you just let it roll and I'll be right back?
Like how long? 10
minutes or less.
We'll stop it. Don't log out.
I won't. I'll leave this up.
And just like that, we're back.
Anyway, yeah, in a short break, I'm realizing it's like, I feel like there's mandatory injunction. Like the thing is that like, in generally I'm wired optimistic, and actually there's amazing stuff going on in my life, and I'm extremely grateful and very fortunate. I also work my fucking ass off, etc. At the same time, my vision of things is bleak. It's fucking bleak. I don't want to be like, yeah, you know, well, you know, we're having a hard time, but we're going to pull through in the end. That's fucking stupid. That is not what is happening.
The world is a bowl of diarrhea. It's a bowl of diarrhea made from eating delicious Skittles. It's like Skittles diarrhea. It's like rainbow colored diarrhea. It's beautiful. There's a lot of beautiful shit in there.
Isn't that an album by Jimi Hendrix?
That's totally a Hendrix tune. Yeah, it's my favorite track off of Bridge of Sighs.
Bridge of Diarrhea. Sorry, Jimmy. No, I don't know. I just feel like even like for strangers, anybody that's bearing this, it's like I don't want to think better of us. But like, and I'm just trying to myself like heal my own mind and like actually like transform my life in a way where I'm not like just being mindlessly, passively party to all these things that I think are fucking abominable. And I think that's my quest. It's my job.
But I mean, I do want to move on. I do want to talk about the record, but no, I do want to talk about the record. But don't you believe that to not play any part in the progress of civilization's peril and life on Earth's peril, that you would have to go live in the woods and forage fucking and eat bugs and fucking mushrooms?
No, I mean, in this case, like for me, like it's a process of harm reduction. And so the degree to which one can gradually transform their material existence and their habits and such away from things that they know to be morally fucking bankrupt is better than nothing. So yeah, it's not, I'm not ascribing some like going off the grid, moving into a cave is not even remotely possible for the vast majority of people. So at the very least, I'd just rather not be completely full.
The few people left, that'll be their only choice.
and then they'll do podcasts from inside. They'll do conceptual fantasy podcasts from inside their own minds, or they can confer with people, like-minded Unabombers.
Let's talk Severance, and for people for people who don't know, Severance is your latest record, and
that's correct.
I think it is clearly and obviously a Netherlands album, but there's a lot more going on here. I think that if you were to skim through it, you'd be like, check it out. Another Netherlands record, but there's like there are some elements popping in here that are not necessarily common to your catalog, and
a little bit. I mean,
there's obviously there's metal. There's toward the end there's some mid-century sort of exotica, classic, like American songbook stuff almost. And then industrial, like, which that's not a stretch. But there's one thing really stood out to me, and it was the most conventional guitar sound that I've ever heard on a Netherlands album. And I think that it's the sort of like shreddy guitar lick at the beginning of the song Severance.
Oh yeah,
that's
in the normal register. That's in the normal octave register. There's no like bass synth pedal on it.
And tonally, it's, people hear it and they go, "There's a shredding guitar right there." With much of the way you approach guitar playing, that is not super evident, right? People wouldn't necessarily hear it for the first time and go like, listen to that wild guitar. It's like, wow, there's a lot going on here. What is it?
Well, I don't know. I think it's funny that you like. I'm deep. I'm albums deep into this kind of like low octave, like an octave down, combined with it's like a double signal with it's two simultaneous guitar signals going through different signal path with synth bass unison, doing varying octave stuff, and occasionally it's like a stuff in the normal or even an octave up register, 2 octaves up. But as we've talked about before, like I don't know, I'm kind of like, it's almost like, I mean, in a way, it's almost like it's like a mutant bass. It's closer to that. It's not like traditional guitar at all. Occasionally there's some chords. Right. There's some polyphony in there, but mostly it's not. Just because. I don't know. I'm like, in a way, the genre for the band, what I'm doing. There's a handful of Netherlands songs that actually have chords in them. But most of them don't. It's like one giant bass instrument. The whole band. The concept is like one giant fucking bass. That's basically the concept.
But yet there's there's a lot of not at any given moment, but there's a lot of melody going on.
Yeah, the counterpoint with the vocals, that's the whole thing. I think I might have mentioned you this. It's basically like the whole concept is generally like, it's as if Simon and Garfunkel and Philip Bailey joined the
Right.
Melvins. That's basically that's what I've been trying to do the whole time. It's like choral vocal music with R&B falsetto vocals with fucking Matt Pike.
Right.
That's just what I've been going for the whole time. And to me, because I'm like, why not? Those are the most satisfying things to me. And of course, there's some guttural sort of grunty death metal stuff too. But truthfully, I'm not really taking that stuff very seriously. If anything, it's like a color. Like, honestly, full disclosure, almost all the grunty vocals are not lyrics.
Is that right?
I am just doing that purely for phonetics.
There is some,
which is
I feel like the vocals in that regard, you went particularly grindcore, like death metal grindcore on this album, more so than on other albums.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I think that's true. Like, I don't know. Excuse me. I think like, I mean, if I'm really being honest, there's a part of me that's just been influenced by the musical culture and such, where I'm kind of like, all right, why not try that? But like, it's definitely not the primary sort of mode of vocals for the thing, because that's just not who I am. And it's also not really that's not the band. That's not really the whole kind of vocal approach concept of the band. But as a tonal element, yeah, I definitely did a lot of that. And like, it's the kind of thing that, like, singing like real melodies, like actual discernible melodies when I'm playing all sorts of complicated shit, is more difficult to execute. Like going the whole time, it's like, yep, sounds great no matter what. So there's an element of it's like a hack. It's like a rock hack to be like, because then people are like, he's being intense. It's super intense. I'm like, well, I'm not really being. I'm not making fun because I really love it. But at the same time, there's other people, like actually Michael from Car Bomb, the singer of Car Bomb, sings on the first song. And I was realizing when he did it, he does the kind of vocal, super guttural thing, and he means it. Like, he's so good at it. It's like fucking disturbing. It's terrifying. It's like really powerful the way he does it, because he's like a real bona fide purveyor of that whole style of vocal delivery. And I was like, oh yeah, there's someone that actually does it, who knows how to do it. When I sound like I don't know what. I don't know. It's like a little weird to me. So yeah, I did that. It's just like a tonal element. There's only one singer in the band, and he alternates between the guy from, like, Emperor and Philip Bailey, which is true. I think it makes it so that people think the music's like annoying or fucking whatever. But fuck them. I don't care.
I think there's a little Morris Day too.
Yeah, there's a huge thing of Prince. It's and Prince and MJ. Like the whole interstitial. Ooh, wow. Yeah. All that stuff's all from Prince and MJ, which is indelible in my whole fucking thing. I can't, as punctuating vocalisms and elements, it's like, it's in all my music now. I can't help it. It's like a disease. I can't stop doing it no matter what genre it is. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's funny. Like, I realize that overall, the reviews for Severance have been overall really good. I think Rotten Tomatoes would probably get us in the 80s or maybe 90s even, although there have been some that are doozies, or people fucking just trolled the shit out of me, which is
have people
harsh.
Like hurled Rotten Tomatoes at this record for you?
No, I mean, on verbally, in terms of like the kind of like bordering on contemptuous dismissal.
Really?
Dismissal of it. Yeah, and like, I mean, it's because I think it's the reason I even brought this up is because I think it's because I'm, from a certain perspective, I'm not doing something that obviously is just one thing or the other, and I'm kind of genre fluid.
Right. You're not a
genre fusion a little bit.
Doom purist.
Yeah, right. And people that actually like that are also that, like, where I do like, where there's like a kind of like a fucking almost like a murder drum and bass kind of song on there. Then there's a 60s ballad. Then there's a kind of like waltzing, kind of almost like southern rock, country rock, like doom waltz, which was actually co-written by my old friend Garth Reeves.
Is that a Nubbin song?
Which is no, it's a Garth solo song. Celia's Mansion, that one. And I wrote new lyrics for it, and I kind of rearranged it or whatever. But it's just one of my favorite songs for years. So yeah, there's a kind of enough musical variety on it with the vocal variety that I think people that my suspicion is that people think that I'm like trying to be cleverer than I am. Like they think that I'm like, they don't realize that I mean it. They think I'm like kind
funny.
I'm like being like I'm trying to be like, like a quirky or something, when I'm just like, no, I'm just, that's the thing. It's like, I'm fucking older than, I mean, people ascribe influences to me that are a generation later than the ones that I actually have, And so in that respect, when people think that you're ripping off artists from the next generation, then it just seems incoherent.
I have a hard time
to them, which I get, and it's totally subjective.
I have a hard time wrapping my head around the idea of what you are delivering being a ripoff. Like there are no overbearing apparent influences.
No, I think so. Thank you. I think it's the best
you have no
thing.
musical peers as far as I'm concerned.
That's the greatest thing you could have said. I so genuinely appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, like, that's what I mean. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's sort of the genetics of Van Halen and the Cars and Sabbath and the Wipers and Diamanda and Yoko and fucking Dio and fucking, P-Funk and fucking Chrome and the Butthole Surfers and No Means No and the Bad Brains and Minor Threat and fucking Aretha Franklin and Nina Simone and and then fucking, Richard Pryor or whatever, so whatever, the whole thing. Like I was going to say Gallagher, but he's not cool enough.
Wait, a quick side note.
I can't.
Did you, I swear I heard this. Let's talk about Gallagher for 45 seconds. I swear that I read somewhere that there was a dude who maybe was like Gallagher's brother or maybe even brother-in-law that was going around and doing the show and booking in as Gallagher. Have you ever heard this?
No, that's amazing.
Isn't that?
It's like for people just want to believe. Yeah. Didn't look anything like him at all. A different body. It's totally
it's like going and seeing Foreigner.
Yeah. They're like, yup, look great to me. He did the watermelon thing. It's perfect. I wouldn't. I know you can't fault people for their dreamy wishes for things to be
I think
other
it's
things,
awesome. I hope I'm remembering that accurately and that it's true.
Maybe. Anyway, thank you for your kind words about the record. Here, I got one here. Here it is.
Oh, yeah. That's a vinyl record there, kids. It's, the thing about vinyl records is that they're the generation of 20-somethings and up now, they know what a record is. They just call them vinyls, which bothers me, but I've grown to accept it.
I want CDs to come back. I think they are coming back.
I'm sure that they will. I mean,
that's what I heard.
Cassettes are back. Did you make a cassette?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't. I still, where are they? I still, all of it within arm's reach. They're everywhere. I still have all of them.
I mean, people are making cassettes again, so everything, pretty soon. I don't know.
You're like, what is it? It's cool. I don't know how to play it.
What was cool 5 years ago that isn't cool now?
I feel like the CDs, whatever. I appreciate Svart, who's our record label for this record, made vinyl for us, which is fucking amazing. I'm very grateful. It's an incredible thing to have sponsors like this, whatever, people working with you. In general, just on a sort of macro philosophical level, I also think that no one should be manufacturing vinyl anymore because it's completely non-biodegradable on any level. Like I looked that up. I'm just like a couple of years ago, and they're like, make an ashtray out of it, like make a Frisbee out of it. Like it's actually more toxic to try to melt it than it is to do anything else with it. So once you make it, it's like going to end up in a landfill for the next 6,000 years. So it'd be better to not do that. But I'm also not going to I'm not going to turn it down, as record companies in my future want to make vinyl for me. I'm going to try to do limited runs.
That's the way you,
or maybe those
put a green stamp on it.
It was like, this was made by people that thought they cared. Made by people who thought it was okay.
Tell me this.
Anyway.
What happens to you when you are not able to put your energy into creating? Because like we started, you are, easily one of the most prolific people I've ever known. And I just imagine you in the coal mine constantly with a headlight on and just like making music,
That's true. That is a correct imagining
and
of me.
That kind of energy has to come out. But I also know that you've been on vacation and had some like time away and unplugged and relaxed. And I wonder, how do you make that balance? And do you feel fit to offer advice to people who feel similarly driven, or do you feel unqualified?
I'm totally unqualified. Don't do what I do. Like, I would never go on vacation if it was left up to me. I need help. I need other people to be like, hey, we're going to drag you out of here. I'm like, okay. Right. Like, and then I'm there and I end up working the whole time kind of when I'm there. Like, I run the risk of, especially now with like this, like social, this media, like having to keep, prop up the illusion of constant productivity and movement and of creation stuff. Like, I'm getting better at it. I'm definitely better at taking breaks and just even, kind of disrupting my sort of near constant practice of creating music and art and stuff. But also because I'm fucking older now and like I just psychologically and mentally, I can't grind for months at a time anymore the way I used to be able to. I mean, I mostly can, but in this case, like, just take it easy. That's what I need to take upon myself. Take it easy. Like, stop fucking, like, maybe 12-hour in a row day. It's not necessary. Right. You can just do 10, 11, or take the weekend off, or stop at 9 p.m. or whatever. But, also, I mean, I'm at the point now where I'm like, I'm sitting on, I have so much, I would say this is kind of radically sort of shift. It doesn't shift. It's not really shifting gears, but I think I'm actually closer than ever before, like tiptoeing towards the real life ambition for doing a 10-day Vipassana, a silent meditation retreat in Massachusetts, to tune into my mind and body in a way that I never have before in my entire life, because I have various stripes of, it's not obvious by now, like a run-of-the-mill, like mental illness in some ways. And, normal, thankfully not acute or, like life-threatening or anything. But like, I would say that like I've reached a point in my life where I actually need to significantly, like let the dust settle and like actually let my crazy, super analytical, super discursive, crazy, constant churning mental activity fundamentally settle in a way where I can, just operate from a place of more compassion and more acceptance, and maybe,
you mean of yourself,
and like, just in general, also just, and therefore with everybody else, because I think that the internet, with the internet, I've made myself, I thought that was in my house. I was like, what the fuck?
Hold on. Hey, you guys. Cut it out. I think there must be a cat in the yard. Sometimes the neighbor's cat walks across the yard and it sets the dogs off.
Um, anyway, so yeah, that's the answer. The answer, the very indirect secondary answer to your question is that like I'm taking measures to actually integrate some sort of radical pause types of serious meditation interventions.
That's amazing.
Into my life. Yeah, and like I think that's probably the best thing I can do for myself and everyone else around me.
Have you read the Rick Rubin book?
Because I don't want to. No, I've heard about it though. I saw some of the book tour podcasts associated with it.
I'm almost all the way through the second list. I listened to the audiobook. I'm almost through it for a second time, and I kind of feel like I could just listen to it for the rest of my life. Memorize it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of he's another one of those. He's a big meditation guy. He's a big advocate for that. That's like his whole thing, I think, or one of the big foundational philosophical programs of his whole life, right? Isn't that true?
I believe so. I mean, he definitely exhibits and expresses a lot of meditative like theory and philosophy in his writing, like talking about just the general approach, not just to creating art, but to life. It's pretty good.
I'll have to check it out.
If I can put $1,000 together that isn't allocated to something way less important, but that I've prioritized higher, I intend to try to get myself into TM.
There you go. That stuff. Yeah, a lot of people swear by it. In general, like you can probably get the same impact and cultivate the same practices without having to pay anybody. Which is there's a case to be made for these teachings shouldn't be monetized. But yeah, good on you. Stuff works. Everyone, it's true. David Lynch is right. Don't not believe David Lynch because it's fucking true.
Have you seen these stickers that you just put on your window? You put it on your window. It says directed by David Lynch. You look out in the world.
That's good. I need one for my glasses.
Your Google Glass. What?
Oh my God.
What do you have planned for the rest of 2023?
Well, I'm playing a bunch of shows with the band. I am there's just like bits of stuff here and there. There's still some other production stuff coming up. Just other commercial work, so to speak. I'm just trying to network with other bands and try to get on some tours. And then also, I'm gearing up to, as I mentioned, to try to pitch a bunch of my unreleased solo albums and see if I can't actually have like 3 or 4 albums out on different labels at the same time because they're all completely different. They wouldn't be serving the same markets at all,
right.
And so they wouldn't be serving the same press outlets or anything like that. But I'm just trying to, the point is I'm going to try to, I'm working on like gathering database of labels and management companies and publicists and bloggers and stuff to help me try to find the right homes for all of my solo work, which is vast. And I'm actually, after sort of many years of not primarily focusing on that and focusing on the band, on Netherlands, of actually trying to build up some awareness in the world for all of my solo music, of which you've heard a handful of the unreleased.
You know what? I have heard a lot of it. I think there's no way I could have heard even the majority of it, let alone all of it.
No. Nothing. There's like 6.
Do you know what I would like to hear? I would like to hear a Styx albums. Like which era Styx would you say you're most influenced by?
Like honestly, it's like what is it? It's Renegade and Come Sail Away. That's the extent.
Just a crusher, dude.
Yeah, and what's her name? Melanie from Royal Blood.
Yeah. Royal Thunder.
Absolutely. Royal Thunder. Sorry, Melanie. Mel. Is it Mel?
Amazing,
Melanie? Yeah, absolutely. Just stunningly badass. Just better than the original, I thought. But then again, I believe many of your couch rest videos are go toe to toe with the original.
That's kind.
But I don't know. I mean, I kind of like Mr. Roboto. Yeah. I like that. It's super fucking weird.
So fucking weird. So fucking weird.
Yeah, but then you gotta credit them for keeping up with the synthesizers. I can't I don't know. This is completely unsolicited. I cannot believe how much I've been geeking out lately about how much I love Rush.
Oh, dude.
I didn't think it would be possible for me to love Rush and Van Halen more than I already do. But my my heart chakra or whatever is opening more deeply somehow at this point in my life. And I've become an absolute, even a deeper super fan than I already was.
Do you think that their odd meters introduced you to, weird music on a sort of foundational level that got you prepared to make unconventional music? Or do you think that it's unrelated?
I don't know. I mean, they were probably because I listened to, on rock radio, what was then just rock radio, which was maybe the beginning of classic rock radio in the late 70s and the 80s. Because they used to play Yes and
really unlikely bands were popular.
Yeah, no, they would also play entire album sides. They used to play that without commercial interruption. Right. Da, da, da. So I got familiar with some, and then I ended up. Oh, it's because I was a drumming fucking nerd that I ended up going to the music stores on 48th Street and seeing posters of Tony Williams, right. And then going and buying records, a couple of them over those couple of years, and then just being whoa, my God. And so that was the sort of bridge and the fusion stuff. But it was probably, it was Tony Williams and Yes and Rush. Tony Williams and Yes before Rush, right. Though. Because I heard those I heard Rush on the radio. I think the first Rush song I heard was Spirit of Radio. Whenever that was 79, is that right?
Straight song as far as that band goes.
Exactly. Even that's why I did. Yeah, no, I know exactly. And so I had heard, the Columbia Record and Tape Club, somehow I just thought I heard some Yes I heard a Long Distance Runaround on the radio, and I was like, this band's amazing. And then I bought Yes songs from the Columbia Record and Tape Club, which is super weird and wild. And I was 8 right. When I was listening to that stuff. So that was deep. But then it was the summer of 79. That was the revolution of, it was the Cars and My Sharona that whole era of stuff, 79, 80. I think I heard Neon Nights in the next couple of years after that. And then that was it. Honestly, I don't think I've ever recovered from hearing Neon Nights when I was 10. I'm still running on the fumes of that moment with my whole thing.
It's pretty powerful. One of my regrets so far, of course, we're both still alive, is that even though we tried once, sort of half tried to start a project, that we never made something original together, but we can still do that. But one thing I would love to see a collaboration between you and Author and Punisher. Do you know this?
Yeah, I mean, that would be. I feel yeah. I mean, not super well, but I've heard a fair amount of it. It'd be great. I feel I don't know. I mean, I would be somehow. I can't. I might be. Maybe I'm totally wrong. I don't want to disparage myself here, but I think that somehow I have this sort of neurotic, maybe just insecure, preemptive sense that he wouldn't really understand what I do. I'm too earnest. I'm not severe enough in a way. His stuff's fucking amazing, but I feel I don't know. And this is totally subjective, but for better or worse, I feel there's a level of kind of earnest, sort of open-heartedness to my thing that I do in a funny way. It's not there's kind of holes in it. There's cracks in the psychology of the thing where I'm not doing this thing that's it's perfect and you can't you just must reckon with the intensity of the thing that I'm doing. Where my thing, there's like some humor in it, and there's some kind of sensitivity, and there's some kind of like lightheartedness at the same time with the fucking brutality of the thing. In which case, somehow I doubt that he might be like, this is cool, it's not my thing. I would love to though. Why not? I can also, as an acting direction, I can be like, I can be
Was that your best villain, Somo?
I'm capable of that, but that's just not my. That's not my character.
It's not your resting Timo face.
And like often pressure, it's not making like fucking ukulele albums and like R&B albums.
Right.
Like maybe is. I don't know. Like
right.
I want to share that. I don't know if maybe you never heard that in its entirety. The record that I made for and with Maya is some of my best work, and it's such a. Yeah, it's not even a departure, but it's just in a different musical.
Send it on.
Entire genre.
Send it on.
It's also very. That's what I was reminded of that. The music that I'm also making at the same time making. I mean, stuff on Severance is fucking aggressive. It's really loud and it's kind of confrontational. It's punk as fuck.
I think it's your best record.
But then I'm also making. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Thanks for saying that, but I'm just, I'm also, I have other interests. Like, I mean, these other records I'm making at the same time are nothing like that at all. So blah, blah, blah.
I did have one last question specifically about Severance, and because I know you labor over many, many, many decisions, I was curious about your decision in the sequence of the album, because we both come from a time when the sequence of an album is fucking crucial. Like yes. You switch two songs, the entire vibe changes, right?
That's true. Yes.
Were you heading off into this? Because you could have started this record. You could have almost sequenced this in reverse, and it would have a similar effect. It just would be sort of like in the mood of a day, or like a day cycle. It would be like not setting sun emotions, like mellow out. It would have been like the sun coming up and then the heat of the day getting more intense, right?
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. Like, for a second, I was like, "Wait a minute, maybe I should just reverse it, like fully,
just play the record backwards."
And then I thought about it, I was like, "No, the fucking the end, it wouldn't entirely work." But like, I mean, this is the thing. I've got some feedback from the public, some critics, and just people, listeners, or whatever. I've kind of had raised eyebrows about the sequence. It. How about the choice? Thank you. Like, to me, like this is maybe the third. No, they all. I end up the third act, like the character of the third act, for me in this context, oftentimes, like I often end up wanting it to be bittersweet. Like I don't really want to anything like that like as an epilogue feeling. It's like I end up naturally, like personally, musically, philosophically, wanting to have like a more of like a rueful, like rumination, sure. Like a thoughtful introspection vibe, which I think for the last the last three Netherlands albums, Black Gaia, Zombie Techno, and Severance all have really sort of sad. I mean, Celia's Mansion is a little more, it's sort of got a soaring little bit of an inspirational vibe, but it's also pretty sad fucking shit, sad bastard. But only the thing, not only in terms of the final feeling, the culminating feeling that you're left with, the feeling, the vibe that you're left with, but like in addition to wanting to have sort of be some genre adventurousness, a little bit, some tonal variety, so that you're not really sure what the hell is happening, or it's not just a sequence, not like the same thing. And now there's like 2 fast ones and then a slow one, then 2 more fast ones and a slow one. And then like there's a ballad and then it ends at like I'm not interested in, like, I'm not interested. I haven't been endeavoring to try to like make records like that. And like the ambition is to try and have it be a little more theatrical, sort of more cinematic.
Right. In the cinematic
and
sense of storytelling, there's the introduction of characters, the story arc, and then there's the third act.
Exactly. Like explicit 3-act structure with an obvious, like an emotional arc and also a narrative arc without being a full on concept record or whatever. But like I personally, I mean, I'm glad I think this one's totally subjective, but I think the fucking sequencing is perfect. It couldn't be any different. And like, I also like, I stand behind my weird choices, like I really, it's like the kind of thing I feel like, honestly, it's kind of like a grower. If you're not familiar with it, you might be like, what the fuck's happening? But if you listen to it a few times, it'll like sink in that like, there's nothing superfluous. There's nothing like I'm not experimenting. Like, I'm not like kind of going, hey, let's just try this and see if it works at all. Right. Nothing. After having made this many records, and in general, of course, I think this is just my thing as an artist, but like, there's not a shred, not a second nano shred of information on that record that I don't mean. There's no fat on it at all. Now, if you don't like the music or you think I'm goofy or whatever, God bless you, whatever.
Bless
but
your
like,
heart.
there's no part of it. Yeah, bless your silly heart, your sweetheart. Whatever. I'm just saying that like I'm very passionate. I'm very adamant about the fact that like I'm not fucking trying things. Like I am extremely explicit about everything I'm doing on these records. And so when especially because it's relatively quirky compared to maybe other artists, whatever, people think that I'm like just kind of being like, whoa, look what I'm doing. And I'm like, no, man, I'm doing this.
It's not on
purpose. So,
it's not improvisational music.
Anyway.
Yeah.
No, I'm not like, one thing if I was like 21 and I was like, I don't know, or whatever, and like, it's still fucking kind of like trying to find my way, find my footing.
Okay. I said that was going to be the last question, but this will be the last question. And maybe you have an answer, maybe you don't. On the subject of album sequencing.
Yeah.
Is there a record that you reference when you are sequencing a record for vibe? Not, like there are records that may or may not be your favorite records, but the sequence of them is really powerful. I think Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction is a fucking masterpiece of sequence art craft. Whether or not every song is a banger doesn't matter. Like, and when I listen to it, even if I stream the album, mentally, I flip the record or the tape, and my Michelle starts side 2 with a brand new energy. Yeah. It's got, so I guess it's multiple questions. When you sequence an album, are you sequencing it as a single piece, or are you sequencing it with the vinyl release in mind that someone will have to take a break and flip it over, or choose to only listen to one side or the other?
It's interesting. Like, I hadn't really thought about that explicitly in those terms lately because we've been digital for so long. Like, I think it's funny if I'm really just scanning myself honestly about that. I feel like the natural break that would exist to truncate side A and side B I almost always naturally do that anyway around song 5 or 6 or whatever. Like I think I've internalized the genetics of vinyl storytelling limitations into my album making things enough so that like without exception, whenever I do have to, I've never been in a situation so far where I'm like, oh my God, there's no obvious mood reset, mood change on side B. I kind of always naturally do it. And it's, I think, entirely based on, I would say that like, if there's the albums that are the biggest influences on me are like those ones, like the golden ones from my childhood, which is basically like it's the Destiny by the Jacksons, and then the Cars first record, the Van Halen Fair Warning, all the Van Halen records up until 1984, you know, and then Earth, Wind and Fire, I Am, you know, and even those, I mean, those are, there's something I just, in terms of like trying to effectively have a narrative, emotional chronology of something that makes you feel like you're not just hearing the same thing over and over again, or it loses too much energy, or it has too much energy, has probably been influenced by. I mean, also maybe if I'm thinking about it, it's like one of the ones that had probably one of the biggest influences on me is Sign of the Times by Prince. Right. Because it's a double album. It has all these amazing mood changes. And it's also really personal and super introspective and dark and fucking fun and funky and stuff. And that was like it was like sort of a genetic, it was a total, I mean, aside from being just an unbelievably amazing fucking song cycle set of collection of fucking songs.
Is there an album?
You know, like I was just one of the ones that.
Is there an album that you can think of, or that this may be an unanswerable question? Is there an album that you think completely missed the mark with sequencing, that if you resequenced it, it could be greater?
Wow. I don't know. I'd have to really think about that, because you take it on its own terms. I'm always just going like, all right, well, that's what they wanted to do. So
you assume chiseled in stone, right?
Yeah. Or just even like, you know, because usually, at least the artists, I would say the majority of the artists that I like appear to have put a lot of thought into that. You know, I can't think of anything offhand where I was like, whoa, like, why did they do that? You know? Sometimes with songs, but like, you know, not with sequencing, you know, but even not with songs.
I made an edit of the White Album. Unpopular opinion. Yeah. But I resequenced.
That's one of them.
I resequenced and trimmed a handful of songs.
Yeah. Really? Like you actually cut songs?
I wonder if I still have.
You got to send me that.
If I still have this playlist. I called it The Better's White Album. I deleted it.
Is it like way shorter?
It is shorter, because that's it.
You cut like, how many songs did you cut off of it?
I think 5 or 6, 5 probably. And the entire vibe shifted. Like it, you know, when you take out certain elements, it's like taking a spice out of a soup. It becomes a different soup.
No, I know. I can't imagine. That's pretty bold. I love your ambition there. I'm sure some people consider that sacrilege, but I don't.
I don't
I'd be
believe
interested.
in sacrilege, so those people can kiss my grits.
Yeah. Cheers.
Timo, I gotta fucking hit it.
I know. I love you. I thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'll tell anybody that even made it this far, I just want you to know that like, it's just important for me not to, I realize in retrospect when I'm downloading all of my pain, rage, and despair about where we're going in the world, is that like, I'm not like that I actually have I'm innately optimistic, and I actually love people. I love animals, and I love life. And I consider it an incomprehensible privilege to be alive and to be able to make music and just to even be alive. So I just want to tie off this interview just so that, you know, that like people just don't think that I'm like some, like, as I said, some kind of apocalyptic man-hating crank, because I'm not.
I think you are supremely talented, one of the most talented people I've ever known, and I'm happy that you are in the world. I'm happy to be alive at the time that you're alive and know you, and I'm happy that you are creating every day.
Well, that's beautiful, Mike. I love you too, man. And I admire you madly, because you're a multi-level badass and musician and writer and artist and thinker and just a person on so many levels. So thank you for engaging me in my wild world of fucking neurotic fucking whatever. I appreciate it.
All right, I'm gonna.
And also, feel free to edit so that
No
I don't
way.
look like a dick.
I'm gonna set us free right now.